I think, can you give me a voice check here, Becca?
Sure. What do you need me to say, or is that good enough?
Okay, so I'm going to have to, that's good enough, but if you'll bear with me for a moment, I'm going to have to change this up because for some reason, Becca, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, and for some reason, we're having a little technical difficulty, but I'm going to greet all of our listeners and viewers. Can we have a sound check one more time? Becca?
I'm here.
Okay. As always, these last minute disasters, technology is a blessing and a curse. Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, live in the FijiWater.com sponsored studio to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. We are here because God is concerned about that which concerns you. And every first Thursday of the month, we are blessed to have with us our monthly contributor, Rebecca Boova, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist. Becca, we greet you. Would you say hello to the listeners and viewers who love having you with us every first Thursday of the month?
Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
And I'm going to say something that I didn't remind Becca and share with her. But for all of our listeners and viewers, this is actually officially 1 year that Becca has been with us. BeccaTheDietitian.com has been with us as our monthly contributor. So we are thankful and excited as always to have you with us, Becca. Our listeners and viewers absolutely adore you. They love you. Well, you know, my wife and I adore you and love you, but our listeners and viewers absolutely love you and adore you. So thank you for all of the work and all of the effort that you've put in to help us enhance our health and wellness. And when I say us, I'm not just talking to listeners and viewers. I'm talking about myself also and my family. Becca has been a blessing by sharing information with all of us that will help enhance our health and wellness. And as always,
Oh, thanks so much. I'm so happy that I've been able to use this platform to share, all this great information over the last year. It's been really fun.
absolutely. And wherever you are across the U.S. and wherever you are around the globe, you have access to that information on her website at BeccaTheDietitian.com. As always, today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door. You might already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock where the water collects in a natural, sustainable, artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. And so I'm going to turn over the microphone to Becca so that she can share the topic for this month. I'm really excited because, of course, Becca is always kind enough to give me a little advance notice of what we're going to be discussing. But I'm going to turn it over to Becca so that you can share with us, Becca, the topic that you have for today.
All right. So, as many of you may know, November is National Diabetes Month. And this time last year, I kind of took the opportunity to just, go over what diabetes is, how to prevent developing diabetes, how to manage it if you do have it. This year, I want to focus a little bit more on carbohydrates because diabetes and carbohydrates go hand in hand together. But recently, in the last few years, I'm sure many of you have heard, a lot of bad information about carbohydrates. But the truth is, carbs are not bad at all. They can be a part of a well-balanced diet. So today I want to kind of focus on reversing that negative stigma against carbs and sharing the benefits and how to have them as part of a balanced diet in appropriate amounts and, what the best sources would be. So first I'll just kind of start out by saying, why we need carbs, what the benefits of eating them could be. So first of all, they're our body's main source of energy. So they are our body's preferred fuel source. So that's for every single cell in your body, your organs, your brain. Everything works better whenever we have carbs as a part of it. You're going to feel more energized. It helps actually boost metabolism to get carbohydrates with your meals. They can aid in digestion and promote bowel regularity. They keep you full and satisfied between meals and whenever you're eating meals and snacks. They also have prebiotics, which feed the good bacteria or the probiotics in your gut, which I've mentioned before. The gut is really important for immune function, so that's something that's really important as well. And then lastly, the last little tidbit I wanted to share is that they can actually help lower your cholesterol levels when eating the right types. Those are just a few of the very many benefits of having carbs in your diet. So I'll just pause real quick to see if we have any questions so far.
So, Becca, it's interesting because, I went and pulled some of the communications from some of our listeners and viewers, and one of them wanted to know, could you go back and just first discuss the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes?
Absolutely. So there's actually been a shift from calling it type 1 and type 2 just because there are so many people developing type 2 at a young age. So type 2 used to be considered childhood onset. It's really actually, it can be like an autoimmune response that your body has, where your body basically attacks your pancreas and doesn't allow it to produce insulin. Now it's being shifted to be called insulin-dependent and non-insulin dependent diabetes. So some people may have this autoimmune disease that causes type 1 or insulin-dependent diabetes, where their body can no longer produce insulin, so they need to get it from an external source. But then there's also non-insulin dependent diabetes, and this is what results from being overweight, having a genetic predisposition or a family history of diabetes. It puts you more at risk. So typically those people will start out with oral medications to manage it, and then it may progress to insulin dependent. So those are the two different types. Like I said before, type 1 used to be more commonly, it began in children, and then type 2 was in adults, but now there has been a shift where more and more children are developing diabetes. So, we kind of have shifted the verbiage there for that.
Well, I'm delighted that you shared that, because it allows us to change our mindset in how we look at diabetes, and how, it can be, start out at childhood, even if it's not, like as you said, and I'm sure I'm not using the proper medical term, but it's
okay.
shift to type 2 in children also. More children are being diagnosed with diabetes. So we need to be aware of these things, and that's why it's so important that we have Becca with us every month to be able to share information. And I'm going to say this out loud because I know many of you have asked, can we have Becca on once a week just so that we can make thorough notes and take down all the information? And Becca has a career, so she's actually giving of herself to be here. But if you go to our website, BeccaTheDietitian.com, you will find recipes, you will find information, you will be able to go back and listen to all of the media that she's done here on the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So there's information available to us. We just have to make certain that we're getting this information, and she's sharing it with us every month. So I'm glad you gave us the opportunity to shift our mindset about diabetes. Now, there was a question, and I need to, if you don't mind, before you continue giving us your information that we so desperately need, one of our listeners and viewers asked the question: if they've been diagnosed pre-diabetic and they have a blood pressure that is 160 over 110, what do you recommend to reverse those diagnoses of, pre-diabetes and hypertension?
Yeah, so the good thing about catching it whenever you're in the pre-diabetic range is that it's still reversible. So
Yes.
as long as you haven't been diagnosed as having, full-blown diabetes, there's still time to reverse those numbers, get things under control, so that you don't have those, complications that can be related to the diabetes too. So a great way to make, to reverse those and get your blood pressure and your A1C and blood sugars under control is to lose weight. And how do we lose weight? Diet modifications and lifestyle modifications. So increasing our physical activity, changing the way we eat, the way we hydrate, all those things. So a great way to make those changes would be to see a dietitian.
Absolutely. And so since we're on that topic right at the moment, Becca, would you take a moment and share with our listeners and viewers all of the insurances that you take at this time? Because what I'm encouraging everyone to do, you heard what Becca said, you may want to use a dietitian. So if you will call your insurance company and find out if you have access to use Becca. Becca, would you share the insurances that you currently take and accept?
Of course, yes. So I accept all major insurances. I take Medicare, Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and United Healthcare.
Excellent. So for all of our listeners and viewers, call your insurance company, find out if you can take advantage of Becca's services by using your insurance to have her as your personal dietitian and nutritionist. And so, Becca, I want to give you an opportunity to go through everything. Before we do that, I just want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, these questions that you have, Becca has all the answers. And if she doesn't have an answer, which I'm not taking away from her expertise because I know she does have the answers, but if she doesn't have an answer, she will find it out and share it with us. So we're doing everything we possibly can to enhance our health and wellness. Everyone should be better off this year than they were last year because Becca has been with us every first Thursday of the month, scheduling permitted, to be with us right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So Becca, would you continue sharing the information you have available for this topic?
Yeah, so we talked about the benefits of having carbohydrates in your diet and what those benefits are. Now I just want to go through, what are carbohydrates? What food groups are included in that? And actually, the truth is, carbohydrates make up the majority of the food groups, except for your proteins and then your fats and oils. So essentially, every other food group has carbohydrates in those foods. So to break it down a little bit further, we've got our breads, grains, and cereals, our starchy vegetables, so things like potatoes, peas, corn, winter squashes, fruits and fruit juices, milk and dairy products, so yogurt's included in that, ice cream, of course, things of that nature. Beans and legumes are carbohydrates, and then sweets and desserts, of course, your sugary foods. So the one category I didn't mention would be the non-starchy vegetables. So those do have a small amount of carbohydrates in them, but those are considered free foods. So we can eat them in an unrestricted amount just because they're so high in fiber and they're so high in the different nutrients that we need. So those are unrestricted. Basically, every other food group is a carbohydrate food group except for proteins and then your fats and oils. Why do carbs get a negative stigma in the first place? If you eat them in excess and you don't balance them with protein and fat in your diet, it's true, it can cause increased blood sugar levels, they can cause weight gain, they can increase your risk of diabetes and other chronic diseases. But if eaten properly and choosing the right types of carbohydrates and eating them in the right portion sizes, they're going to have all those benefits that I mentioned before. So with that, I will just go through the 3 different types of carbs. So I like to say there's an umbrella, and those are all of carbohydrates. And then underneath the umbrella are 3 different categories. So 1 is sugar, 2 is starch, and 3 is fiber. So those are all 3 different types of carbohydrates. So like, for example, when you look at a nutrition label, you'll see total carbohydrates, you'll see sugar, you'll see fiber. Starch isn't listed, but that would be the other one that would be considered in there. So those are the three types of carbs that go into that total carbohydrate category. Sugar and starch, these ones are pretty quickly digested, absorbed, and then metabolized into blood glucose. So, if eaten it alone, they can cause a quick spike in your blood glucose or your blood sugar. Fiber, on the other hand, this is much more slowly digested, absorbed, and metabolized. It can help you feel full for longer, and it causes a more steady rise in blood sugar after eating, just because it does take a lot longer to break down, digest, and absorb. The other benefit of fiber is that it's only partially absorbed. So, some of it will absorb into our bodies, but the other part of it just goes through our GI tract until we have a bowel movement, and then it leaves. So that's another really, really important benefit of fiber. We're taking in those calories, but we're not actually absorbing all of those calories into our body. So eating more high fiber carbohydrates is really the way to go, because it'll fill you up, it won't be as many calories in, and you're going to have all those other benefits that I mentioned before. So what are your high fiber carbohydrates? Those would be, your fiber-rich vegetables, your whole grains, so things like wheat bread over white bread, or brown rice over white rice, or like a whole wheat pasta over regular pasta. So those are some examples of whole grains. And then some other high fiber groups would be, in addition to whole grains and bread, your beans and legumes are also going to be really high in fiber. Starchy vegetables, so like sweet potatoes or corn or peas, those are high in fiber. Fruits will be high in fiber. Those are kind of like the main ones there. But of course, like I mentioned before, milk and dairy are also considered in the carb group, and we get a lot of important nutrients from them. So even though they wouldn't have, a lot of fiber per se, we still want to make sure we get those food groups in to get the calcium and the vitamin D and the other nutrients that are found in those. But yeah, so high fiber is the way to go. So whenever you're building your plate, we've got our protein, carb, and fat. We want to make sure that carb is from a high fiber source, whether it be a whole grain or a high fiber vegetable. That about sums up my spiel on carbs, so let me hear your question.
So, interestingly enough, I had a immediate takeaway when, Becca, you were sharing with us about you can somewhat balance out the carbs by eating protein also. Correct me if I'm wrong there. You were saying that you can balance out the effects of carbohydrates by eating protein also simultaneously?
Yes, protein and fat. Yep. Yes. So that's going to change the digestive process. So similarly to the way whole grains take longer or high fiber carbs take longer to digest, adding in protein and fat with your carbohydrate source will also slow down the digestion process and lead to a more steady rise in blood glucose after a meal or snack versus a quick spike whenever you have either a carb or a high sugar food by itself.
Got it. Excellent. So we're going to get back to some additional questions and from our listeners and viewers, but before we do that, I have to do a little business with the Globe. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G network. If you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We will place you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge, and taxes and fees will be included in your bill. And if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. And if you receive points on your credit card, you will receive points from your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So, Becca, I will ask another question from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated, how many carbs should you or can you eat during every meal?
So that's going to be a little bit different for everybody, and it depends on, a lot of different factors, your height, your weight, your gender, your activity level. So those are a few of the many different factors. Of course, if you have any chronic diseases, that will affect it as well. But carbohydrates should really be taking up 45 to 65% of our daily calorie intake. So when you think about that, that's like,
Yes.
half or more than half of our daily calories should come from carbs.
Excellent.
So a significant amount of our daily, food intake should be carbohydrate sources.
So it's very interesting that you said that because I'm a numbers guy, so numbers never lie. Okay, so you basically just said that 50%. You said 40 plus, almost 50% of our diet should include carbs. The other 50%, I'm guessing, should include protein and fiber, right?
Protein and fat. Yep. So
Protein and
it's
fat.
about 20 to 30% should be from fat. And then 10 to 25% should be from protein.
Okay. So,
and those numbers will all vary based on what your goals are, your activity level, all those different factors that I mentioned before.
and I like what you said also because you said height, weight, body type, any chronic illnesses. None of this is about restriction. This is all about disciplining our lives, making certain that we maximize the quality of life and that we become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. So it's not that we should eliminate carbs. We're just trying to make certain that we balance out our diet, and Becca's giving us all the tools necessary to accomplish that. So it's real important that we recognize we should be taking down notes, Socratic notes on everything that Becca shares with us every month, really to be the best version of ourselves. So one thing, Becca, I noticed you mentioned also earlier about hydration. And I'm constantly sharing with everyone how important it is to hydrate. And I'm not talking about hydrating with sodas or hydrating with, energy drinks. Pure and simple water. And I know everyone's probably going to be sitting there thinking, well, he's about to do another advertisement for Fiji water. No, just of course we want you to drink Fiji water, but any water that's going to hydrate your body is going to be good for you. And it allows us, Becca, if you would, scientifically, would you share with us, with everyone, just how important water is? We all know water is H2O, but share the importance with us, if you will, about the hydration.
Yeah, well, our bodies are made up primarily of water, so
Yes.
we have to make sure that we're replenishing that because we lose water every day. We lose fluid every day, so we lose it. When we go to the bathroom,
Yes.
whether it be number one or number two, we lose fluid that way. Both of those ways, we lose it when we sweat. And, you might not always realize that you're sweating, but we sweat when we sleep, we sweat when we do activity. So water is really important, or just hydrating fluids in general are important to, maintain your body temperature, to make sure that all of your organs can function properly, to make sure that your kidneys and your liver can detoxify your body. A whole bunch of reasons. It helps with our sleep, it helps with our focus, our concentration. The benefits are just endless,
Absolutely.
Basically just hydrate.
Absolutely. And I will share, and Becca will probably be, well, not probably, will certainly be able to explain it more eloquently than I am able to do. But I can tell you personally, you don't ever want to be dehydrated. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I can literally tell when I haven't consumed my scheduled amount of water every single day. I can tell that I'm a little bit off if I don't drink, at least 64 fluid ounces. But I always try to get in at least 4 to 5 liters of water every day. And I'd like to do 6, but having time for that doesn't always work. So I try to make sure I get 5 in. But if I'm a little off my water intake for the day, I can notice the change. And Becca, you could probably explain that. No, let me rephrase that again. Becca can certainly explain that a little more scientifically than I can, but it's important to hydrate. And so, Becca, if you want to take that.
So important, yeah. So whenever we don't have enough fluid in our body, all those different processes that are happening without us even thinking about it, our heart pumping, our lungs breathing, our liver and our kidneys filtering out the toxins from our body, our brain thinking, all of those things can't happen as efficiently if we're not hydrated. So we got to make sure we're drinking enough fluids throughout the day and spreading them pretty evenly throughout the day too. So doing just as much at like breakfast, lunch, dinner, between, and not loading up all at once either. That's another important thing. So we want to try and spread that out so that it's consistent throughout the entire day. Same way with food. We want to make sure our food is consistently coming in throughout the entire day.
So as you can see, I was correct. Becca explained that a little more scientifically and eloquently than I'm capable of doing. However, pardon me, this is real important. So we're going to get this right. We are coming into a new year of Becca being with us every first Thursday of the month and giving us information that is going to really improve our health and wellness. Becca, one of our listeners and viewers asked the question, since they are 40 pounds overweight, how much weight should they lose to get their health back on track? And does exercise really help prevent diabetes? So that was a two-part question.
That's a good couple of questions there,
Yes.
so I'll take it one at a time. So I'll start out with, does exercise help prevent diabetes? Exercise is really important for our cardiovascular health and for maintaining a healthy weight. So yes, exercise should absolutely be a part of our daily routines, or at least every other day or so. If you're not currently exercising, any form of exercise or any addition of exercise is going to be a benefit. And then as far as the weight loss goes, typically a 10% weight reduction as a starting point is a really great way to reverse high blood pressure, diabetes risk, cholesterol levels, lots of different benefits for that. So, a starting place would certainly be 10%. So let's say, you're 160 pounds and we'll just say you're 160 pounds. So a 10% weight loss would be 16 pounds. So, it's not much when you think about it that way. If you could lose 16 pounds, divide it up by 6 months, I'm trying to do some math real quick in my head here. So that would be, 2 to 3 pounds a month. All you have to do is lose 2 to 3 pounds a month in order to lose that 10% within 6 months. So, it doesn't need to happen immediately because that's not possible. But what matters is that you're taking steps to get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that, because that really gets us to the opportunity to move forward. And you said you're 40 pounds overweight. So the good news is you know your numbers. I can't stress this enough. Numbers are important in life. And every aspect of our lives, numbers are going to be important. So you now are aware that you're 40 pounds overweight. So as Becca said, you can start by just taking 10% off of what you weigh and begin the reduction process slowly and methodically. And that way you'll be able to not only lose the weight, but you'll be able to keep it off. You'll be able to maintain your health and wellness. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. If you are in any of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need: shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And The White Company, located in London, the UK, and they also have a store on 5th Avenue in New York. If you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. If you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. So, with us, as always, the first Thursday of every month, and I am excited to announce that it has been 1 year since Rebecca Boova, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, agreed. She had been with us on the broadcast previously, but she consented to be our monthly contributor. So happy 1 year anniversary to Becca for being with us every first Thursday of the month right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. Becca, we thank you for your efforts. And one more time, if you will, this is Rebecca Boova, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, BeccaTheDietitian.com. Would you share with our listeners and viewers, in case anyone came in late, the insurances that you accept so that everyone can contact their insurance company and find out if they can take advantage of your services? And Becca does offer individual pay, so you can discuss that with her also. But Becca, would you share the insurances that you currently accept?
So I accept all major insurance companies: Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and Medicare. So some plans do have certain stipulations in order to qualify. So just check with your health insurance company or your employer if that's who provides it. We do have self-pay options if that would not be an option for you.
Excellent, excellent. And thank you so much, Rebecca, for being with us today. Becca is, as always, our monthly contributor right here in 3D, our health and wellness expert. She is a licensed registered dietitian and nutritionist. She's also the picture of health. So we thank Becca for being with us every first Thursday of the month. And